you mentioned also about grit, and I think grit is really important in these times, knowing that maybe at some level it's stoicism. You have to be stoic. You have to show grit. You have to be intentional. It's not the end of the world if you choose it not to be, unless you have COVID and debilitating secondary issues, maybe.
Right.
But for most people, it won't be. So the idea for me for grit is really the ability to pursue with determination long-term goals, really looking at choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. So when we think about building ourselves, whether it's learn a new language, what are some things in your mind where we can start to establish grit and a self-identity that's sort of built in those hard things that we're doing to develop our skills and our person long-term?
Right. There's something I call thought seeds. When I was teaching at Berkeley, I was teaching on these lists of thought seeds that if you plant them into your brain, over time they grow and become your character. One of the thought seeds to build grit is to believe that there's always a way. When you think there's always a way, then you'll find a way no matter what. When most people would give up, you would keep pushing on, right? This is a thought seed that is extremely important. Another one is if better is possible, good is not enough. If better is possible, good is not enough. That's my definition of excellence. And so if I have that thought seed in my head, if I know that better is possible, then I'll continue moving forward, right? And so the question is, what are the thought seeds? What are the quotes? What are the small phrases that if you planted into your mind and into your heart that would make you work at a higher level for a longer period of time, right? I love what you said. What was the phrase that you said? You said a hard right is better than an easy wrong.
Yeah, it's choosing the hard right over easy wrongs. I mean, the easy way out could feel good. It goes back to what I call the monkey brain, right? The limbic rich sort of life. And to me, it's like early on when I was younger, about 18, I was learning to fly planes out of John Wayne Airport. And I remember I was flying downwind, which is you take off, you can visualize the runway as your plane's flying downwind from where you took off. I was just going downwind, and they extended me, and it was by Tustin Air Station where they have those big dirigible hangars.
Right.
And I remember at that moment I'm flying, and I realized, gee, if I can do this, I can do anything. Now, I don't believe I can do anything because I don't have the skill sets to be an Einstein mathematician, but what it was teaching me is grit and determination, that you go through something that seems impossible when you're 18 to fly a plane at some level, and you go do that by yourself. It sort of then extended to other areas of my life. So it's choosing the hard things. I'm not saying the dangerous things. I'm not saying things that will put your health and your life and your body and your persons and your family at risk. I'm talking about things you don't believe you can do, whether it be a physics class or flying or pick whatever it may be, and choosing those hard things over the easy things, because that really starts to develop character and your sense of self and how you see yourself, because you know better than all of us that in this world, as we go through all this work, boy, is it important who we bring in our life. Boy, is it important who we surround ourselves with.
Yes.
Because it can destroy all the work you're doing. And boy, is it important because some people will be jealous of your success or your grit and your determination and your mental makeup, and they don't want to see that success unless they're having it. So that, to me, choosing the hard right over the easy wrong will always stand the test of time no matter what hits you, because you know your mettle and what you're made of. And you're going to go back to those points in time where you said, I was that person that did that. I was able to overcome that massive, huge, whatever in my mind, that hill, that mountain, and go through it successfully. So that was sort of the idea.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And it's so funny, when I, like, one of my first sessions that I do with my clients just ties so much. You literally, I can encapsulate that and just put it on the video that I have for my clients. But really what it is that ability to overcome, to break through, gives us a template on how to break through again. When I work with my clients, we talk about one of their breakthrough moments. I just say, you've done this before. That's the first thing I say. They start working, they're like, hey, I want to change my behavior. I want to change this. I want to grow in these areas. I want to gain confidence here. I say, you've done this before. And so I ask, when you had a situation that was negative and then you had a breakthrough that went up and all of a sudden moved you to a different level, tell us the story. So they tell me the story of how nervous or afraid they were. They talked about how difficult it was to gain the courage to break up or gain the courage to quit the job. And then finally they have this moment of breakthrough. And when they had that breakthrough, they felt this kind of like, I felt euphoric, I felt hopeful, I felt excited, I felt engaged. And you're just saying, okay, so you've done it before. Let's find out, what are your recipes? Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, because this can be picked up and placed in any area of your life. Just as you learning to fly, you're like, okay, there's a similar set of steps or recipe that I can use in this next situation that I'm coming from or coming to. And also what I say is that if you have an obstacle that's this big and you're this big, as soon as you jump over it, you're as big as that obstacle was. And so ultimately over time, it's the same jump that's happening over and over again. It's just you get bigger and the obstacle gets bigger. So it's not that things are necessarily getting harder. It's that you're getting stronger. And when you have that shift in mindset, all of a sudden you're able to do things you thought you couldn't do. That's a thought seed. That's something that you can keep. And when you embody it, just like you said, you've picked it up and you've put that same situation in things that have nothing to do with flying, and it pushes you to that next level to make that hard right.
Yeah, that's a good point, because what it does also is it develops a standard in your mind's eye. This is how I see myself. This is the standard. Anything
Huge.
less than that, you're not going to be comfortable with. You're never going to be at a point where you're steady state and everything's good, because there's that little small voice in your head saying, you know what, you could be more, you could do more, you can push it more. Not for the intrinsic value of ego. To me, it's never been about that. It's about, if God's put you on this planet, if you believe in God, and you're here to go do something, and you're here to max your potential, it's in that framework that I think about things. And so in life, we know that there's planned and unplanned circumstances and events that we can't control. But what we can control is that grit and that development of a mindset, mental toughness, a history and a pattern that we can share with ourselves to say, I've done this, this, and this. I can take on this next big giant in my mind's eye. Because that's, one could say, well, it's between the ears, but there are some big giants out there, whether it be health of a loved one or loss of a job, which there's going to be so many stories with COVID replete with all these things. And I think it's an opportunity for people right now to say, you know what, in this time, we know, look, even after COVID, there's going to be seriously huge challenges for our country, for this state, for people. And if we know that life is full of a series of challenges, it's not like, hey, I met Berkey and he gave me these strategies and I'm good. Because if I met you 20 years from now, Berkey, you're going to say, Ben, what'd you learn from that? And then you're going to see a whole different person, a whole different evolution, if you will, of a person. So I think this is the time to say, wait a minute, going through COVID's taught me one thing. It's tough emotionally. And if I'm not willing to step up to the rigors of what we're experiencing and I collapse like a wallflower, that's not where I want to be, because I'm going to get into drugs, alcohol, all kinds of crazy behavior, which further compounds what I'm dealing with. So to me, again, when I went back as a young pup at 18 flying, it was never about, hey, look at me, this is impressive. It was all about how hard and far can I push myself to limits that I never thought I could get to. That's it.
Powerful, man. It's such a great question and a great analogy. This time, this pressure cooker is really where it's a huge determining factor of what the future of people are going to look like. Because literally this is what's about to happen. Though everything was stable and then there was instability, and now there's this separation that's happening. Which direction are you going to go? And there are just small choices that you need to make in this moment. The ones that I'm going to survive this, and I'm not only going to survive, I'm going to thrive. I need to overcome fear. Not say get rid of it, overcome it. Be more powerful than it. And when you make that subtle adjustment, you times that by a lifetime, it's a totally different human being, 100% new person. And
I love that analogy. That's powerful. One analogy we use in flying is, you're flying and you have a compass. And 1 degree, if I'm 1 degree off going to San Diego, to the right is I'm flying south at 180 degrees on a compass, and I'm, let's say, at 182. I'll end up over the Pacific, and I'll never reach that destination called San Diego. And so the idea is it's a small degree course correction in your life, certainly within COVID, to say, all I need to do is 1 degree. Because I think a lot of people look at their life and say, man, where do I start? Where do I begin? And the reality to what you just said is, hey, man, it's just one little change that adds up to a lifetime of a fundamentally different person. And it goes at the top of what you're saying, which I think is just spot on, about meditation and habits and routines, and starting to develop that person that can take advantage of that slight change you're making, knowing that as you go forward in time, you're going to build on those experiences, because life's just full of slight changes.
Ooh. Right? Yeah, and you would know better than I. They say like a jetliner is off course 90% of the time, right? It's just constantly course correcting. It's this ability for us to be okay. A lot of people, especially my clients, are first starting, like, okay, I want to know what I want to do, and I want to know right now. And I'm like, well, you don't have enough information. Your job is just to know enough to take the first step. That's all we need to do. Just know enough to take that first step. And one of the things that's so powerful is to understand that our relationship, the first family, this is what I call the first family, is our past self, our present self, and our future self. That is our first family. Before we think about the ones we love and everything, if this family is chaotic, if there is no state of union, then there cannot be a state of union out there. If I'm the one that sets the alarm and in the morning I'm the one that hits snooze, there's discord, right? And then my future self running late is mad at the snooze person. So all of a sudden the family is not in conjunction. They're not engaged. And what ultimately is happening is I say to my clients, I say, when you become the person you want to be, that superhero will have to bow to you right now. And you think you're the problem. They have to bow to you and say, thank you for your grit, your hard work, your sweat and tears to make me what I am.
Yeah.
Because we look up at that person as though they're the ones that are going to do everything, but they are the birth of your hard work and suffering right now. And so when I talk with my clients or my organizations, when I say, you're the one that is the superhero, building the superhero. Your engagement and your ability to fight, to push through that pressure cooker, to push through your fears, to meditate, to stick to that routine even when you don't want to. That fight is what builds the superhero that you want to be. So you're the one that's the superhero at the end of the day. And that's one of the most important that people need to realize. When you swallow that, all of a sudden you're like, okay, it's not about getting there. It's about doing what I need to do now. Because when I get there, then my superhero can handle it to set it up for the next superhero.